Alright, welcome back to more Elder Scrolls Online. Let's continue where we stopped. Before we go any further, I noticed there might be another Dark Brotherhood story mission right at the Way Shrine, so let's go check that out real quickly. Alright, so as I was saying, I noticed looks like there's a Dark Brotherhood member right here at the shrine. Let's go talk to them. The last time we passed by them, they said, hey, initiate, over here. Only one group calls us initiates, so let's go take a look.
Hey, initiate, over here!
Okay.
Have you seen the naughty Nariad players? They're performing in Anvil, apparently at the Pirate Queen's request. They're a little crass for my taste, but that Toralon is the elk's antlers. Oh, and Matron Astara wants to see you in the sanctuary.
Does she have another task for me?
So I hear. A contract. Some kind of special request. The Matron asked for you specifically, so you better get a move on.
Why me?
I was asking myself that very same question. Seriously, you're a natural at this. Even Elam says so, and he never compliments any of the initiates. I bet you'll find out more if you stop asking me questions and get to the sanctuary.
All right, let's go. A special request. Let's go talk to Astara. As I've been saying, my priority is to finish the Dark Brotherhood story missions as quickly as possible and try to jump into the Thieves Guild. There's so much DLC to get into. Right, here we are. Let's go talk to Astara. Might want to do something here. I think I want to switch this one out for the Storm Archonarch. Well, we just wasted that, but oh well.
A contract has come our way that includes an unusual request. The client wants to meet the assassin assigned to carry out the task before paying our exorbitant fee.
I take it that's not the way things are usually done.
It's rare, but not unheard of. And the Black Hand agreed, so who am I to complain? I'd like you to deal with this one, Initiate. Go to Anvil Castle and meet with our client. I'm sure she's got a good reason for making a special request.
Who's the client I'm supposed to meet anyway?
Oh, didn't I mention? It's none other than the self-proclaimed provincial governor of Anvil, the Pirate Queen Fortunata Abdugal. I expect you to handle this like any other contract. Locate your target, plan your attack, and make your kill.
Any idea who she wants dead?
Knowing Fortunata, it could be anyone. She's made as many enemies as she has friends since taking control of the Gold Coast. Probably just a noble who insulted her at one of her elaborate parties.
What more can you tell me about this governor?
I'm sure there's a book about her around here somewhere. Oh, very well. Fortunata worked for the Gold Coast Trading Company before she used her influence and connections to become the Pirate Queen of the Abetian Sea.
I think we already know. I think we read the book, so let's not waste too much time. At least we're making some progress. no, this is the wrong way. Oh, right up there is where we want to go. Talk to Governor Fortunata, the Pirate Queen. I gotta say, I'm curious to see what she looks like. We've not met her before, it's gonna be our first, but I'm very curious to see what she looks like. I've read quite a lot about her. But I also read somewhere that she's not very fond of the Brotherhood, which is a little bit confusing. So first, where is she? Is she in Kvatch? Alright, yeah, she's in Kvatch. In the last couple of videos, we had a very big problem with our audio coming out of sync. That has since been resolved. We shouldn't have any more issues with that. Unfortunately, I caught it a little bit too late. Let's go see her. Can't wait to see what she looks like. But before we go there, see the Song of Pelinal, Volume 5. On his love for Morihus, editor's note, Volumes 1 to 6 are taken from the so-called Reman manuscript located in the Imperial Library. It is a transcription of older fragments collected by an unknown scholar of the early Second Era. Beyond this, little is known of the original sources of this fragment, some of which appear to be from the same period, perhaps even from the same manuscript. But as no scholarly consensus yet exists on dating these 6 fragments, oh, it's the same thing. He says the same thing at the beginning of every Song of Pelinal. So let's just read on. It is a solid truth that Mihorus was the son of Cain, but whether or not Pelinal was indeed the Shizarine is best left unsaid. For once, Plantino, who favored the short sword, said it, and that night he was smothered by moths. Okay. It is famous, though, that the two talked of each other as family, with Morihus as the lesser, and that Pelinal loved him and called him nephew, but this could be merely the fancies of immortals. Never did Pelinal counsel Morihus in the time of war, for the man-bull fought magnificently and led men well, and never resorted to madness. But the White Strake did warn against the growing love for Perif. We are Ada, more, and change things through love. We must take care lest we beget more monsters on this earth. If you do not desist, she will take to you, and you will transform all Surat if you do this. And to this the bull became shy, for he was a bull, and he felt his form too ugly for the Peravania at all times, especially when she disrobed for him. He snorted, though, and shook his nose up into the light of the Secunda moon, and said, "She's like this shine on my nose up here. An accident sometimes, but whenever I move my head at night, she is there. And so you know what you ask is impossible." Of course. What's a bull going to do when an attractive lady is undressing for him? So this is the Pirate Queen. I'd like to look around her estate a little bit more, but first let's talk to her and see what's up. Oh, she even has a pet lion. And who is this guy?
Well, you look interesting. I'm quite certain I don't remember seeing you around the castle before. Even so, I do hope there's a good reason for this interruption.
Well, let's just remain silent.
Ah, of course. You're one of them. I wasn't sure you'd honor my request since I refused to perform that ghoulish ritual of yours. I suppose even the Brotherhood can be bought for the right amount of gold.
Should we remain silent or should we speak up? Let's ask her, you wanted to meet me?
I prefer to convey my orders directly so that nothing gets lost in the translation. You know about the Order of the Hour? The religious warriors that protect the Kvatch Cathedral? They've expanded their mandate and now pose a threat I can't ignore.
So who do you want me to kill?
I'm sure this is all Count Careless's doing. He constantly defies me, damn the man. Doesn't he realize the Gold Coast is better off under my control? Anyway, kill Commander Marcus Scipio. That should show the Count that the Hour can't protect him.
Anything else?
Now that you mention it, there is one more thing. After you murder Scipio, go and tell the Count what you did. Scare the pants off him and drive home the point that the Order of the Hour can't stop the inevitable.
Okay, we'll kill the commander and inform the Count when the deed is done.
The Hour has moved its most elite members into Castle Kvatch and locked the place down. You'll need to find a way inside to get at Scipio. My Ratmaster tells me the guard tower might be the best route. The key can be found on the Castellan.
Alright. I do hope we get to kill her at some point. Right, so let's go read a couple more books before we move on. We've read this one. Volume 7. We're not gonna read the editor's note. Well, this one is a bit different. This fragment comes from a manuscript recovered from the ruins of the Elysian Order's monastery at Lake Canalus, which dates it to sometime prior to the War of Righteousness in 2321. However, textual analysis suggests that this fragment actually preserves a very early form of the song, perhaps from the mid-6th century. And so, after many battles with Umaril's allies, where dead Aurorans lay like candlelight around the throne, the Pelennor became surrounded by the last Ayleid sorcerer kings and their demons, each one heavy with varliance. The White Stray cracked the floor with his mace, and they withdrew, and he said, "Bring me Umaril that called me out." And, while mighty in his aspect and wicked, deathless golden Umaril favored ruin from afar over close combat, and so he tarried in the shadows of the White Tower before coming forth. More soldiers were sent against Pelennor to die, and yet they managed to pierce his armor with axes and arrows, for Umaril had wrought each one by long varliance, which he had been hoarding since his first issue of Challenge. Presently, the half-elf showed himself, bathed in meridian light, and he listed his bloodline in the Eleidan and spoke of his father, a god of the previous Capals, World River, and taking great delight in the heavy breathing of Pelinal, who finally bled. I hate how this book is being written. It's absolutely a pain to read. It's horrific to read. Yeah, my little rant there. And Umar was laid low. The angel face of his helm dented into an ugliness, which made Pelinal laugh, and his unfeathered wings broken off with sword strokes delivered while Pelinal stood, frothing, above him, insulting his ancestry and anyone else that took ship from old El Nofe, which angered the other elvish kings and drove them to a madness of their own. And they fell on him, speaking to their weapons, cutting the Pelinal into eights while he roared in confusion, which even the Council of Skips could hear. Text lost. Ran, so somebody, ran when Moore shook the whole of the tower with mighty bashing from his horns the next morning. And some were slain in overabundance in the taking, and men looked for more Iliads to kill, but Pelinal had left none save those kings and demons that had already begun to flee. It was Morihus who found the White Strake's head, which the kings had left to prove their deeds, and they spoke, and Pelinal said things of regrets. But the rebellion had turned anyway, and more words were said between these immortals that even the Paravan would not deny to hear. Yeah, this series... Oh, why is this happening here? Yeah, this series of books is written in such a horrific fashion that makes it very hard to read. Rise of the Red Sails. Pirates pose a common problem to most merchants who ply their trade by the sea. But if you asked anyone other than a sailor to name even one crew responsible for their nautical woes, I wager you'd find them woefully at a loss. Few of these outlaws ever achieved the heights of infamy needed to reach the ears of inland folk. The Red Sails and their pirate queen, Fortunata Abdugal, stand as the notable exception to this rule. Their notoriety stretches all along the Abyssian coast to the point of being a household name and catch-all bugaboo among the residents of waterside towns. This widespread reputation is a relatively recent development. Not all that long ago, the Red Sails were much more like their contemporaries, independent and unremarkable. Originally a band of raiders plundering a meager living along the Strid River, it was the arrival of Fortunata that marked the beginning of a new era for the humble raiders, who would soon be known as the Red Sails. Using her position in the Gold Coast Trading Company to lure the raiders to her side, she soon began building a floating armada. Under Fortunata's ambitious, some would say fearless leadership, the raiders made their first voyage out to the Abyssian Sea. In what can only be described as a suicidal assault, her smaller complement of raiders scaled a larger pirate vessel. Its captain considered the smaller riverboat beneath his notice and made the mistake of ignoring its approach. With cunning and brutality, Fortunata and her crew seized the captain and forced his surrender. Offering to accept the oath of any of the enemy crew who would serve her as captain, she ordered the former captain and his officers strung up on the ringing and slaughtered the lot of them. With the blood of her rivals still seeping into the cloth, Fortunata raised the sails that would be her crew's calling card for years to come. Using her connections as a merchant lord and the growing power of her Red Sail pirates, Fortunata turned a band of lawless miscreants into a feudal hierarchy of lords and vessels in the form of ship captains and their crews. After a number of successful boarding auctions that resulted in the capture of pirate and merchant vessels alike, more and more captains began to voluntarily flock to her banner. The fearsome reputation of the Pirate Queen and her Red Sail spread like wildfire from port to port as the harrowing tales of their attacks became the main topic of discussion in smoky taverns and crowded inns. When the time was right, Fortunata and her armada sailed into Anvil harbor and grabbed control of the city. Now Provincial Governor Fortunata and her Red Sail enforcers claim the entire Gold Coast as their personal domain. It is estimated that the Red Sails have more than 24 vessels under the blood-red sabers on a white banner. A navy in its own right, the Pirate Queen could lay claim to any port she desired, and without the Imperial Navy to oppose her, it's just a matter of time before she sets her sight beyond the Gold Coast. Anyone who thinks the Red Sails have reached the pinnacle of their ambition is simply living in denial. Brace yourselves, Abyssians, a storm is coming. Now that's a book that's written in a much more normal fashion.
Have you heard that King Lelorian has returned? He's going
No,
to
I
lead
haven't.
the Fighters Guild now.
Can we trespass? We cannot open this yet. So yeah, Fortunata is not a nice lady at all. My hope is to get to sink my blade into her throat. First, let's see if there is anybody. Oh yeah, there's lots of people here. We'll probably get to come back and deal with them. Let's get out first. I personally may just come back and kill her myself. Yeah, if I don't get a mission to kill her, I'll just come back and take care of her myself. Hopefully that will free the Gold Coast from her Iron Fist rule. Right, so we need to infiltrate Castle Kvatch. Yeah, the Pirate Queen is not a nice person. She kind of reminds me of Arya in Mass Effect. Arya T'Loak. We're gonna get as much ash wood as we can. Because we made our first bow, but we are yet to make our first stave. So that's interesting. We took a contract from her even though she did not perform the Black Sacrament. I guess she's VIP for now. Okay. Most likely we'll probably need something like a disguise to get in. Where's the gate officer? Okay, let's talk to them.
Move along. The castle has been closed by command of the Count of Kvatch and the Order of the Hour.
We have business inside the castle.
Do you now? I suppose you have a writ from the Count? Or maybe a seal from Primate Artorius? Or a pass from an Hour officer? No? I didn't think so. Move along.
What kind of seal are you talking about?
You know, a scroll bearing the hallowed seal of the Primate of Akatosh. Shows you have the Primate's blessing. Without one of those identifying documents, we'd have no way of knowing who belongs in the castle and who doesn't.
How can I get one of those scrolls?
You can't. Not unless you're a new Hour recruit, or you're one of the chanters from the cathedral. Other than that, no one else is allowed in the castle at this time. Now move along before you get on my bad side.
Okay, I believe you. So let's talk to an Akatosh chanter. As you know, guards have been made immortal. It's impossible to take that, almost impossible to kill them in a fight, which makes sense. It needs to be somebody keeping everyone accountable.
I find that a visit to these graves is almost as uplifting as a stroll through the cathedral.
Do you have one of the primate seals?
Of course! I am one of Akatosh's chanters, after all. But why in the name of the dragon god of time are you interested in the primate seal?
I need your seal. Give it to me now.
I will not! That seal is a declaration and a confirmation of my faith, and I take my faith very seriously.
Give it to us or die, basically.
By Akatosh's hourglass eyes, you're one of those dark assassin people! The ones the Grand Sermonizer warned us about. Look, there's a hidden passage in the moat, along the western wall. Use that route if you really need to get into the castle.
This had better not be your trick.
I'm not foolish enough to cross the Dark Brotherhood. It's true. Normally chains firmly bar the moat door, but that changed recently for reasons I'm not privy to. Someone must be using it. You can use it too, if you're quick and quiet about it.
All right. It's strange how she just spilled and just told us everything we needed to know. Use the moat passage. Obtain the gatehouse key. First, let's look around here. This is the moat passage. Let's use the passage. Should be close by here. The one thing I wish you could be able to do in Elder Scrolls is dive deeper underwater. They need to work on that. Oh, there it is. Alright, we need to kill Commander Marcus Scipio. And we're trespassing. Alright, whose place is this anyway? We got a lockpick. I'm gonna search everything here. Autographed calling. What's this? A signed, sloppily illustrated card depicting someone of intermediate race and gender. A forger might find use for this. Recipe. Thrice-baked Gorapple pie. And we already know this one. We can just sell it. Order of the hour. By Exodore Vasidius, Sermonizer, Priest of Akatosh. The Order of the Hour is one of the oldest knightly orders in the Empire. It was born early in the life of the Empire during the First Era, and eventually faded into obscurity during the Second Era. It was founded by Enon Deacon as an order of knights dedicated to Akatosh, though originally it drew its members from the priesthood and military alike. The most recent incarnation of the Order of the Hour was established in 432 by the warrior priest of Akatosh, Kavar Merula, in response to the collapse of the Second Empire and the coming of the Longhouse Emperors. Fearing for the safety of the Dragon God priesthood and wanting to protect the Cathedral of Akatosh and its many historic and religiously significant treasures, Kavar gathered a few devoted and trusted fellow priests and dedicated himself and his brothers to the defense of the cathedral. On that day, the Order of the Hour was reborn. Soon, devout soldiers and warrior priests in service to Akatosh began to flock to the Order's banner. The feared retribution against the Divines by the Longhouse Emperors never materialized, however, and the Order of the Hour transformed into a small but elite unit of bodyguards, devoted to the cathedral and its resident primate, the leader of the Akatosh faith. In many ways, the Order of the Hour developed into a mostly ceremonial organization, although they maintained their training and combat readiness. When the occasional threat did strike from the shadows, the Order was prepared. Take, for example, the Kvatch-bred riots in 467. The common folk, fearful and angry due to the red wheat blight that devastated crops for the second year in a row, decided that Akatosh and his priests weren't doing enough to rectify the situation. Gruff Bujur led an axe and torch-bearing mob to the very steps of the cathedral, intent on inflicting violence and making their displeasure known. But the Order of the Hour was ready for the assault, and Sister Severa and her warrior priests slaughtered half the crowd before even a single torch had been thrown. The primate promised to pray to end the tribulation, and by the next season, the blight had run its course. Other examples of the bravery and dedication of the Order of the Hour exist, including saving Primate Phrastus from an assassin's blade in 540, and rescuing a caravan of priests and pilgrims from bandits in 561. The Order has never wavered from its vow to serve and protect the cathedral, and by extension, the priests and worshippers who occupy the holy place. In 480, a writ from the Primate of Akatosh authorized the Order to form into an army during times of religious emergencies. Answering only to religious authority, the militarized Order took to the walls of Kvatch to protect the city from a horde of brigands led by the charismatic orc marauder Baz Swordbreaker. Thanks to the efforts of the Order, the brigands were defeated and the city saved. Immediately thereafter, the army disbanded and the Order returned to its regular duties at the cathedral. Recruits of the Order must be devout followers of Akatosh, unmarried so that they may devote themselves fully to the Order and its intense regiments. While the Order began as a small group of warrior priests, the organization has recently broadened its acceptance criteria so that non-clergy can undertake the vows. Once indoctrinated into the Order, members undergo enhanced training in combat and skills related to keeping the cathedral safe. When the Gold Coast isolated itself from Cyrodiil after the Empire collapsed and the Three Banners War began, Artorius Ponicus, Primate of Kvatch, immediately set out to bolster the power and scope of the Order of the Hour. He instructed Commander Marcus Scipio to increase the size of the Order and set about expanding the Order's responsibilities beyond the boundaries of the cathedral into the rest of the city of Kvatch. This was done, as the Primate had said on numerous occasions, to reinforce the capabilities of the Kvatch God in these dangerous and troubling times. As anyone can plainly see, the Primate has only the best interests of Kvatch and its people in mind. With recent threats against the city and the cathedral, the Count of Kvatch has granted the Primate of Akatosh emergency powers to once again convert the Order into an army. Today, the Order of the Hour boasts the largest force in the history of the organization, with a mix of devoted warrior priests and dedicated soldiers of the faith filling its growing ranks. The Order now maintains the safety and keeps the peace of not only the Cathedral of Akatosh's grounds, but all of Kvatch as well. No matter how chaotic things get on the other side of Varen's Wall, on the Kvatch side, the Order has things well in hand. And we're here to ruin all of that, unfortunately. Alright, we're half an hour in, so let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Elder Scrolls Online.